Morning, Gary. How you going? Finally,
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, it's Tim again from Horse Racing Junkies. 100% real with race biz. This is episode 4 that come on. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what went on over the carnival, some of our black bookers that we picked up on, and some of the issues that punters had to put up with during the carnival, and that with the TAB and everything. I know you had a good few days over the carnival. The last day probably not as good.
No, it was a very strange day, the last day. But look, I think that overall, I think the carnival as a Melburnian, it was very strange because, I usually go to 1 or 2 days of the carnival, and it's something we all look forward to, especially a derby day or a cup day. And being up, this year was very different. And I think even it lacked something. And of course, people couldn't even get together for cup day or a barbecue on derby day or whatever. It wasn't the same atmosphere as in the past, and I think that came through. I think that the Channel 10 and that and racing.com did a reasonable job, but it's very hard when there's nobody on track.
Yeah,
and it's a bit like our AFL or that for the year. Without having people, it just lacks that extra bit of edge of what sets the carnival apart from an ordinary meeting. I mean, let's be honest, most of the time through the year, country meetings, and I bet a lot on, no one goes anyway unless they're an owner or they're connected with the horses. But Spring Carnival, hey, we've had to have closed the doors, and you've had to, in the past few years, had to pre-buy your admission to the Melbourne Cup or whatever else weeks in advance, and it's something that people look forward to, and they dress up, and they, the whole city's vibrant. I'm sure that the restaurants, hotels, and the amount of revenue that we must have lost in this state. Just because of the Spring Carnival, and from people coming from all over to us as a destination city. Well, I hate to count it.
Yeah, and you can see the change. Like just the amount of money that were in the pools was a lot less than what you normally see. Betfair, there was only 5 million in the market on the morning of the race.
Yeah,
on that, and that's just normally there's 30 or 40 million.
Yeah.
Which was just unusual. I think last year it had over 70 million in the pool.
Right. Yeah, look, I think for people outside of Melbourne, and because there's still a lot of racetracks I hear, which I haven't been able to experience outside, have restrictions on numbers and everything else. So people didn't have their parties, and they can't have the catering, and they can't have the restaurant events. So it was down, which is a bit sad. I think the other factor that, well, certainly on the last day, which was an absolute disaster, is the TAB debacle. Now, while I don't really bet much with the TAB, I do use the corporates, etc., for my exotics. The problem was, and I worked it out fairly quickly, and I texted a couple of people I know who bet a lot. I said, well, I'm not doing a quaddie today because there'll be nothing in the pool because it closed at 11 o'clock, right? And there's no way. If you were doing exactas or you're doing trifectas, the pools must have been so low, and especially on the secondary meetings, and they weren't going to announce dividends until it was over. Now, during the day, we thought it would be over, hopefully, every hour. I think they had no idea. But, I did quite a few races I'd rated at Morphettville. They were called off after the, race two or three. Yeah. It was just a consistent disaster. And then we have the debacle as well, that if you're going to move a meeting, why move it from what is Morphettville to Morphettville Parks, which is another issue, where people need to understand there's a difference between, it may be at the same destination, but there's a difference between the track that's the normal track to the inside track, which is totally different turns, running styles, the whole lot. So, realistically, it completely upsets our chain of thought and how we do things.
Yeah, because that happened a couple of times in the last couple of years where there's been rain affected on some of the country tracks in Victoria, and they take it from one track and then they take to like Pakenham synthetic.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, look, as we know, horses that love synthetic are good on synthetic, and ones who are good on turf don't necessarily like synthetic.
Exactly.
So yeah, when that has happened, I've just bypassed those meetings like the plague.
Yeah. Because I found with a lot of the racing too that the horses must know something's going on.
Yeah.
It's hard to sort of say, but to me, the atmosphere and just the betting markets, there was no volume movement that you normally see.
Yeah, for a spring carnival, I think, as I said, it was. And being a Melburnian, we would all hope it is a once in a lifetime, and we never want to experience it again. But you know, it's certainly with Melbourne Spring Carnival. I hope that, yeah, it was very different, and we look forward to what may be down the track. But I mean, you know, regarding COVID, we've just now, this is our 13th day in a row with 0 cases. If you look per capita, we are the best state, other than I believe Tasmania and ACT, but they're so small. We've actually got less COVID cases than any other state in Australia, of the major states. Yeah. Yet we're still locked out currently from everywhere, which is, can't agree with it. And I don't understand where you come from, why we're certainly not even being told we can come back to go to Queensland, you know, definitely in December. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that's going to have an impact. And it's going to be very interesting if they don't change their mind shortly, because your Magic Millions and that, if people don't have certainty to go, how are they going to make bookings? And for a lot of people in their normal job or business life, they only get to have Christmas holidays with their family or whatever. They've got to make a decision where they're going. You can't just make a decision on December 20 and go, oh, we're going to go on the 28th for 2 weeks to Queensland. So therefore, unless people are told well in advance, they're not going to be able to make bookings, and people are going to plan to go elsewhere. Yeah. So I think it's going to have a big impact on other carnivals as well, if the states don't get their act into gear, especially Queensland, because I think it's going to affect your Magic Millions.
Oh, definitely. I think it must. Like, we've been to a few football games. That social distancing is just not happening in a place like this.
No.
It's stupid. So I don't know how they're going to be able to manage it when you go, like restaurants, they still do it. But, you know, we went to a football game the other night and we were all virtually sitting all together. You know, people standing right next to it. So the social distance, you know, the 1 metre apart thing is just not happening. And so, and I don't know if that's happening at the racetracks and things like that up here, because I do everything from home.
Yeah. You know, well, so these things, which we now are getting to more permanent ones, as well as having hundreds of portable ones, are still a must. Everywhere you go in Melbourne and Victoria, you have to wear them. So, you know, it is a problem. The other day I went to get takeaway and jumped out of my car, went in because it was raining. And then I go, oh, and the woman looked at me. So I had to race back in and put my mask back on. But it is something we just naturally do now. And you have them in your glove box, you have whatever else. I mean, seriously, it's just something. And, you know, we are into, we had a very bad day, as they call it, for people who suffer from asthma. Hay fever the last couple of days hasn't been the best, and I do get hay fever a bit. But you go out in public, you actually get conscious that you don't want to cough, and you know it may be a hay fever cough, because which makes you almost want a cough ball, because if anyone hears anyone cough in Victoria, they look at them like, oh, you know, they're running into a bank with a gun. I mean, it's like everyone's paranoid by it. Now, obviously, if they've got those symptoms, they should get tested or whatever. But for us who do suffer from hay fever, we know when we've got it and when we haven't, because when everything's fine. But, you know, when the pollen goes the other way, well, it's just what we've suffered from all our life. So, you know, it's strange times.
Yeah, it is. Weird.
Weird.
Anyway, let's get into the racing stuff.
Yeah.
I've got a few from the last couple of weeks. I don't have a lot of black bookers, because I found, like with what we were talking about the other day, the back markers, there wasn't many running on in the back markers. Down the straight, yeah, there were, but anything that came around the corner, like Joviality on Melbourne Cup Day.
Oh my, yeah,
that was slaughtered. But you know, it never got out of second gear at all. And you know, I don't know whether it was the way he rode the horse or whether they just weren't running on.
Yeah, look, I backed it, and let's just say it was.
I'll just close.
I've seen better rides, but you know, in fairness, sometimes to jockeys, the ride of the day can also occur because they have a lot of luck and the gap opens, and sometimes it doesn't. right? And I suppose it gets back to one thing that we've spoken about before, but I'm more and more into all the time, which is penalising more horses who are definitely going to come from behind.
Yeah.
Because they've got to make their luck. Whereas the horse who's settling in those first, if you can settle within, 600 out, you're going to reasonably be within three and a half lengths of the actual leader. You can make your own luck, right? But if you're back 8 or 9 lengths, you've got to have a lot of things go your way, right? And then you can get stuck 3, 4 wide, no cut. All those issues can happen. And then if some horses are tiring and coming back on you, well, then you don't get out at all. Then how many times we lost the race because of that? So I think that has to always be factored into when you do your pricing and bonuses and penalties. And, I'm getting more and more sick and tired of backing these horses coming from behind.
Yeah, because like we're talking about too, you've got a friend that he changed his whole concept, the way he was looking at things. What was it, 59 races and 58 of them?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Coming off the front. So, I mean, in that first 8, and I think that's a much better thing to do as well, is just sit, horses coming off the front. Positions 1 to 8 maximum, I think, is what you've got to be looking at. But those horses in fields of 14, where the horses are coming 10 and below, it's really tough. And the bigger the fields, the more you want to be in that front half.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Right? Now, in small fields, it doesn't really matter. If you've got a 6 or 7 horse field, well, you can pretty much come from anywhere. Although, in staying races, which I do well on staying races, I actually stay away from 6 horse staying races because I find that if the horse in front just walks, even though you got the best horse, if he's sitting at the back and there's no pace at all, and he's back 7 or 8 lengths off the lead with 500 to go, it's very hard to make up that. And therefore, that's why those races often are topsy-turvy races and go upside down, because there's no pace in the race, right? So, and there's more chance of being no pace in the race in the small field. Because quite rightly, the bloke who gets to the lead, the jockey who gets to the lead, he can slow them up and they play into it. If there's 12 or 14 horses, there's going to be something else that's going to take them on, and therefore it's on. So, it's a lot better to, you just got to be aware. I mean, it's one of the things I try to factor in all the time. And I love fields. 10 to 12 I find to be the optimum. 10 to 12 horses, love it.
Yeah. Because you're still getting some value in the markets. And it's like I found the better results I had were the races over the carnival that were rated 8 to 1 or more, on the favourite.
Look, I had some races like that on the carnival. I backed some very good price winners on the carnival. And quite often I do find that those sort of, look, I've often had a little theory that's hard for me, hard for them. And in those races where I may price them at $6, $7 a field, and there's a horse going off at $3.50, then I'm certainly prepared to bet against them. And those ones for exotics and that pay very well. I mean, a lot of the times they overplay, the market overplays that horse in a race where there's genuine 7 or 8 chances.
Yeah.
So and you've only got to, again, in racing, and the more you do it all the time, LIR, luck in running, we have some bad ones, but we have every now and then we get quite a few good ones as well. So it plays out in the end. So that's why taking the right odds I find to be so important. And if I am going to back a shorter priced horse, it has to map extremely. Everything has to be in its favour. If you're going to take a horse under $3, I think you've got to have everything in its favour. And I certainly don't want to back a back marker at short priced odds.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather be on the other side, laying. And I think those ones are very good ones as well if you're going to play exotics. If you don't like the favourite where it maps, they're good exotics to play, because if you can go for exactas and trifectas and you don't have a horse sub $3 in there, the value is dramatically jumps in.
Yep, and if you look at trainers like Mick Price and Gay Waterhouse, whatever, they like their horses on the pace.
Absolutely.
Because they stay out of trouble. And people go, oh, yeah, Gay Waterhouse, her horses always go to the front. But she trains them to be fit.
Yeah, that's exactly correct.
They add that. So and I agree with you. When you look at some of the speed maps and everything, a lot of the winners over the carnival were off the front.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
other than the last day,
Yeah,
there were only a couple that really came from well back, like September Run came from well back. 50 starts, it was probably 8th or 9th on Saturday to run second. There was and I only came up with, 4 good horses over the carnival. There's probably more there, but 4 that I really liked. Like Order of Command on pace. That was another one, just got run down, 33-1, and he's a straight horse specialist. If it had a little bit more sting out of the track, Camel Passer would have never beat him. No,
that would have been a good result for me as well, that one. That's exactly right. Yeah, those straight 6 races are the only ones that you don't want to, 1,000 or 1,100 or 1,200 down the straight 6 at Flemington. They're the only ones you don't want to be sitting in the front on. You seem to be a sitting duck.
Yeah.
Right. If your jockey gets going too early there, that's why you need jockeys, I believe, with experience. Not only the horse needs experience, I think, in the straight 6, but the jockey being experienced in how to ride the straight 6 runs is important as well, because I've seen quite a few of them. The winning post seems a lot closer than it really is. If you're sitting out there in front there, you're a sitting duck and they'll come from behind you. But again, you don't want to come from last there either. You just got to be middle of the field.
Yeah, well, I'd say the three best in my eyes in the way of jockeys would be Glenn Boss, Dwayne Dunn, Damien Oliver in that straight 6. They just have it down to a T, especially Dwayne Dunn and Glenn Boss. I mean, the way he rode Blevick, there was no way that horse was going to get. He rode it to perfection.
Glenn Boss is certainly a jockey that, if you look at his strike rate, his profit on turn, everything for the last 90 days, 6 months, year or whatever, is horrible. But amazingly, he gets into what we would call grand finals of racing, and there's none better. He just goes through it's like he saves his best for the big races. And he seems to get the right horses, and obviously the trainers and owners trust him on those ones. But during the year lately, he's been average. He hasn't been getting the winners or hasn't been doing whatever. But certainly, this Spring Carnival's been very both here and in Sydney has been very kind to him.
The last couple of years have been very kind. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He comes to the forefront on the big days.
Yeah.
But on the other ones, he's down a bit. So he's not as. Whereas I find at the moment the most consistent best jockey I think going around is actually a female, Jamie Carr. I find her to be really good.
Yeah. They seem to travel for her, don't they?
That's what I was going to say.
It's a bit like Linda Meach. They were the same for her.
Yeah. But Jamie Carr, I think, is she's good. I have no issues if she's sitting on any of the horses, whatever else. And I think she gives every horse a great chance. She gets them in the right position. And I think the other thing is that, I think the horses like her as well. I think she's kind with them. Yeah. She just seems to go and rides them pretty well.
Yeah. So what's going on with Linda Meach? Has she stopped riding or is she injured?
I think she has, I think she's, she hasn't been around for a while. And same as Raquel Clark has still not come back from injury. I don't think she'll be coming back.
Yeah.
Because she was another one who was amazing last year as well in Adelaide.
Yeah.
She was the Jamie Carr before. She was unbelievable. Everything. Clark last year was just. Then she had that unfortunate fall, and I believe that she won't be coming back.
Okay.
It's a very dangerous game. It's one thing I'd never want any of my kids to really do from a dangerous point of view is be a jockey. I mean, over the years, it's a very dangerous game. And you just need one little thing to go wrong and,
All over Red Rover.
All over Red Rover. And unfortunately, for the jockeys who don't make a lot of money, the ones that are essential in those country tracks, it's even more dangerous because the tracks are a lot harder. They're not as well kept, right? Because obviously they don't have that sort of money. And probably the horses aren't as well schooled as the ones, the top stables. Those horses are immaculately schooled and everything, and still you can have issues. But, when you get to those, outback maidens and whatever else, well, unfortunately, Australia's lost a few over the years through that as well. It's very tough.
Yeah.
Amazing courage, as I said. And to take the gap and all the rest for a jockey, when you look at how horses don't run on a straight line, they're all going slight. They're an amazing athlete, realistically, the jockeys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and they have to be so daring. I mean, when you think you've got a 55 kilo guy sitting on a 600 kilo or 500 kilo horse, that's
Well, that's right.
Oh,
I mean, a lot of them, and the females, they're probably under. I mean, that's with their saddles and all the rest they're riding at that. But I mean, a lot of them are only, like you said, they're late 40s, early 50 kilos, whatever else. But they have to have no fear as well, because also a lot of them, they have the fall and they have to get back and do it again.
Yep.
And they do. So I mean, it's it's a very dangerous sport.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we don't pay enough gratitude to how dangerous it actually is, right? And we sit there and moan and groan and whatever else, but realistically, it's a tough sport. And they've got to get them in the right position. And the horse, you can't talk to them or whatever else. And of course, they don't know if it's not feeling well. So therefore, the horse can react strangely or whatever else. And to get through those big gaps, that's why the jockeys have to be also very responsible. And as much as we as punters sometimes can complain, safety has to always be utmost in their mind as well. They can't take a run that's not there.
Yeah.
Or you can have some, horrible consequences, which is what we certainly don't want.
No.
So horses to follow this month.
I'll give you my four black bookers, which I'm going to put in, and then if you put a couple in, and
I've got a few. Yep.
I've got to get away and do accelerator, finish that off for the day. So on the 7th, just gone, the end of the carnival, and that Morvada in the earlier race, one of the Jolly horses, and the Jolly camp don't bring horses up from South Australia unless they're right. They've knocked off a few good prizes, and that was in the Chatham over 1400. The other one was the red hot favourite, Right You Are, the Ollie Road. Yeah. It's just not a first up horse. I don't care what people say. Yep. I thought that was a lay at the price it was. I think it was 350, and it's never won first up. And I'm thinking, how can you horses just don't change their sort of racing pattern overnight.
Yeah, definitely agree.
That was over 1600. The other one was in the McKinnon. I thought 50 Stars is just about on part of snap or race very soon. And that was a good run over the 2,000 metres. The favourite was just too good for them, and they backed the favourite off the map.
Yeah, well,
the Queen off the map. And the other one was September Run in the Kilmore. I mean, God, that was just it. Nothing was going to beat her on that day.
That was a good run, extremely good run. Yeah.
Well, that's the four that I've sort of come up with at this stage. I've got a few others, but they're the four major ones.
Well, my horses to follow definitely are. They're all New South Wales based. I like the Akoi from Kembla on the 3rd of 11th. It's a Robin Luke Price 1,600 metre horse. It's been running in benchmark 64s. It's got a bit of improvement in it, and it's a 5-year-old mare. I really like it. Akoi. Yep. The other one is Tricky Gal, which ran last Saturday. It's Matt Smith. It ran in a Group 2, 1,400 metres. Great run, and I think it's got a bit going forward.
I think it's my top rater on Saturday.
Right, okay. Yep. And another one I got from a maiden, which won a maiden, and I thought it was an outstanding run, and it's got a lot of ability, and I think it will go good for the next couple of starts, is called Toscani. It's a Mar Eustace horse. It ran at Newcastle. It was a very good maiden over 1250, and I reckon it can go well up to 1,600 metres. And I'm certainly going to follow that the next couple of starts. And two I've got from the trials, which is interesting. You were talking before about Bott Waterhouse trained horses. Both these have done just ready to go first up or in the first couple of starts. One is Rule the World. It's one I'm going to follow for its first two starts up this preparation. And the other one is Chief Geronimo, came out of a trial as well on Randwick on the 30th of the 10th. This horse has in that trial's already produced 2 city winners. So I'm waiting for that. And that's between 1,400 to 1,800. Yep. And I've marked this one to follow for his first 3 starts. Now, when I do that, as soon as they win one, I get off. But I look at, do I think they're going to go looking at the form and all that for 1, 2, or 3 starts? Because often something can go slightly wrong on the first one, and you can get better odds the second time, or they're right prepared. So they're the horses I'm certainly looked at in the last couple of weeks. And as I said, now I'm really looking forward to getting back to racing normality. Although the next couple of weeks, I think we've got this weekend, we've got no city meeting in New South Wales. It's transferred. We've got Newcastle.
Yeah.
We've got
the Cameron, haven't you?
Saturday. The week after, we go to Ballarat.
Yeah.
So, we're starting to get to that time of the year where we don't even have city meetings on Saturdays. So. Okay.
Well, yeah, because you got the Cameron at Newcastle, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. And but we also have on Saturday. We have New South Wales is actually strongly represented because it's got a TAB meeting at Bathurst, Gundagai, and a very good one at Kembla.
Okay.
So yes, I'm looking forward to that. And fortunately, I believe the weather has improved a lot in New South Wales. And currently, Victoria, we've been, apart from yesterday, it's been very good weather. So we've, 2 days ago it was 33 here. So we're getting into that time of the year. Yep.
All right, mate. We'll call that Horse Racing Junkies for another week. We'll do another one in a couple of weeks' time. This is episode 4, guys. Thanks, Gaz, for coming on. Great insight in how you looked at the carnival and that, and really enjoyed it. So we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Will do.
This will go up on Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
All right, mate. Bye-bye.
See you, mate. Bye.
All right, bye.